I think everyone here is comfortable with the fact that this entire UPSC journey, it consists of 3 stages. We all know that. There is no rocket science. You have a stage of prelims, mains and interview. We all know. You have a reason, argument to tell that if ethnic conflicts are happening, this is happening for so reason. If caste conflicts are happening, if regionalism is happening, if son of soil is happening, then this is the reason why this is happening. They might ask you, based on the election results, oh, this year's UP results were largely governed by role of caste in politics. What's your opinion on that? So if you know what Rajni Kothari has said about politicization and casteization of politics, your answer in front of the interview board would be academically rich.
Most UPSC aspirants fail before they even begin. Here's how you avoid that. The mistake: they jump into preparation without a roadmap, a mentor, or a clear strategy. At Vision IAS Delhi, we help you build your UPSC foundation the right way from day one. Get structured coverage, prelims, mains, CSAT and essay, all broken down step by step so nothing feels overwhelming. Smart current affairs with PT 365 and Mains 365. You focus only on what truly matters, no fluff. Personal mentorship, real one-on-one guidance to help you fix weak areas and boost what you're already good at. Test plus feedback loop, regular tests with detailed feedback so you never lose track of your progress. Don't start blind, start smart with Vision IAS Delhi. This is where your serious UPSC journey begins. UPSC preparation is not just about reading books or watching online lectures. It requires personal guidance, real discussions, and structured practice. This is where offline mentoring makes all the difference. Unlike online learning, where doubts often remain unresolved, offline mentoring offers direct interaction, real-time feedback, and an environment of discipline and competition. One-to-one sessions help students get tailored advice, strategy corrections, and focused improvement. Every aspirant has different strengths and weaknesses. Personal mentoring helps address them effectively. Ground discussions sharpen analytical thinking and help students develop a multi-dimensional perspective on issues crucial for prelims, mains, and interview. Elocution sessions help in personality development, clarity of thought, and confidence, essential for UPSC interviews. Test writing is the most crucial part of UPSC preparation. It helps in time management, structuring answers, and improving content quality. Offline mentoring is not just about teaching. It's about grooming future officers with the right guidance, discipline, and confidence. So if you are preparing for UPSC, make sure you have the right mentor by your side.
A very good afternoon to everyone. So, my name is Smriti Shah, and on behalf of Vision IAS, I warmly welcome you all to this open session regarding sociology as an optional for UPSC Civil Services examination. Now, let me start with a very powerful thought, which has always inspired me. It's a quote which I truly live by, and it is attributed to none other than Albert Einstein, who says, you should know the rules of the game, and then you have to play it better than anyone else. So A, you should know the rules of the game, but knowing the rules is not enough. Then you have to make sure that you play better than anyone else. And this is the mantra of success, not only in UPSC, but in life in general. Now, before I dive in further in this session, let me tell you a very short story. It's a story about a young archer. He once asked his master, that master, what does it take to hit the bull's eye every single time? So the master smiled and replied, A, you should know your target. And once you know the target, then B, focus on nothing else till your arrow hits the target. And this is the demand of UPSC. A, know your target. Second, understand the rules of this game. And finally, with clarity, with consistency, strike the target. Is that very clear? So today's session is just to make you aware about the rules of this game and how we can manage to nail those rules. After that, once the session is over, then the ball will be in your court. That how much have you understand the rules and how have you decided to excel by following those rules. Is that very clear? Take it. Now, I think everyone here is comfortable with the fact that this entire UPSC journey, it consists of 3 stages. We all know that. There is no rocket science. You have a stage of prelims, mains, and interview. We all know. Okay? Each stage has its own significance, and no stage can be said that it is not that important. Absolutely not. In fact, if you don't qualify your prelims, people say it's a qualifying stage. It is the most important stage. Because if you don't qualify your prelims, you will never get the opportunity to write your mains. But then, no matter how many times you qualify your prelims, you might have heard or observed there are many students who clear prelims every year. But then they never manage to clear the stage of mains. So prelims kept aside, the most important stage, if you ask my observation, in order to find your name in the final list, is the stage of mains examination. Because God forbid, if you clear mains, but you haven't scored well in mains, then your selection will largely depend upon how much you manage to score in the personality stage, which anyway is highly subjective. So why we should put our future in the hands of the board members? Why not be in a comfortable zone by scoring good enough marks in mains so that we don't have to be at the mercy of the marks given to us by the board members? We are not saying that interview stage is not important. It is very important. But sometimes it happens, the day didn't work in your favor. Your answers, maybe the board did not agree with your point of view. And on that day, 20, 30 marks less, just because the point of views didn't match. The entire year, your efforts will all go in vain. So why to be putting yourself in that situation? Let's nail the stage of mains examination. So the key here is we have to master mains stage. Now, with respect to mains, there are 3 important papers without any doubt in my mind, which has the power to elevate your score dramatically. And those 3 papers are ethics, essay, and optional. But since today is not the day for ethics and essay, we'll discuss it some other day. Today is the day for optional. There are 500 marks which is riding on this paper. There are many of you who would be attempting 26. There might be some of you who might be aiming 27 or even later years. But at this stage, if you're sitting in this classroom, that means you are in the dilemma that which optional to be chosen. I have been in your position 15 years back, where their dilemma has confronted almost every one of us, that which optional to be chosen. And the major challenge was that we all have a human tendency to follow the bandwagon effect. In simple words, herd mentality. What is the most popular optional? Which is the optional which everyone else is choosing? But that's not the right strategy. So there are actually, if you ask me, there are 4 filters which has to be applied before you decide which optional to be chosen. The first filter, which according to me is very important, is whether you have the interest in the subject or not. See, you need to understand, optional is 500 marks. You have to engage with your optional like for a very long period of time. Let us say whichever optional it is, on an average 5 to 6 months, you have to engage with that paper on a very regular and daily basis. You will be reading, you will be analyzing, you will be learning, you will be answering, you will be evaluating. So there is a lot of significant engagement which is required with that subject. If you don't find that subject interesting, after a certain period of time, you will find the entire process as a burden. In fact, you will start doubting your decision to even prepare for this examination. Not because you're not capable. It's just that you have made a mistake while choosing the optional. I'll just tell you a very small story about a selected candidate. So a very young aspirant, our classroom student. So he was from engineering background. So as the assumption prevails, we all thought that he might have taken some technical subject. And if not, then engineers, they choose geography, PubAd, PSIR, sociology. These are the popular options which you choose, right? But when he got selected, all of us were taken by surprise when he told us that his optional was English literature. We just looked at him with a blank face and we were like, what? I mean, what is your technical background? So he's an engineer in so-and-so field. Then we were like, what made you take English literature? So then he said he was always very interested in literature, but he never got the opportunity to formally pursue literature. Because obviously there is a lot of pressure now to take a certain subject, to become engineer, doctor, CA, whatever it is, right? So he never pursued it despite having interest. So he took that opportunity and chose literature as the optional paper in UPSC Civil Services examination, very first attempt, qualified, currently serving in the capacity of IPS officer. So then, actually at that time when he told us, we found this move to be very bold. But then we realized that actually this move was very smart. Why? Because he found this paper to be interesting. Just hands on your heart and just try to analyze for a few seconds. When you find something interesting, you like doing something, isn't there consistency? For example, you have interest in fiddling with phone, in watching the reels. Given an opportunity, you start watching the reel. Given an opportunity, you start fiddling with your phone. If you're interested in playing games, given an opportunity, 5 minutes break, you're not giving, rest to your mind. You'll start playing the game on the phone. Interest drives consistency. And it is consistency which drives success. So the first filter to decide which optional to be chosen is whether you have the interest or not. But now let us suppose we have chosen the topic, that there are 2-3 subjects in which you have interest. Then let's apply the second filter. No matter how interested you are, if you do not have resources, if you do not have material, if you do not have solved PYQs, you would never be able to convert your interest in meaningful progress. So along with interest, what is required is right tools. Whether I have availability of resources, material in the market, and not just any resource or material, the resource or material which is fine-tuned with respect to the demand of UPSC. Is it making sense? So second thing is availability of resources and material. Now let us assume we have resources and material also. But do we have all the time at our disposal? Suppose you're writing your attempt next year. You exactly have 1 year in which you have to prepare GS, essay, CSAT and optional. So if I bring all the material and put it right in front of you, go read these stack of books. Is it humanly possible to read the books, to understand the concept, to nail the paper in a span of 1 year? Then what is required is some kind of dedicated guidance. We are not saying that it is mandatory for you to join some coaching institute. Absolutely not. But some kind of dedicated guidance can help you speed up your learning curve. Because let us assume, how many of you have sociology as your academic background? See? Hardly 4 or 5 of us have sociology as the academic background. That means rest of you are from some other academic background who have absolutely no clue that what is supposed to be studied in sociology. So if you get access to some kind of mentorship, some kind of classroom program, some kind of dedicated test series, it will help you understand the concepts in a very limited time frame. ऐसा नहीं आप खुद से नहीं कर सकते. Sociology is no rocket science. You can do even by your own self, provided you have at least 2 years at your disposal. But in case you are planning 2026 ka attempt, then we do not have enough time to do any optional for that matter completely on our own. Because if you take help of any mentorship, they can actually tell you how much to study, how to study, and what exactly is supposed to be done. So you will be able to navigate through this unfamiliar terrain without wasting your precious time. So the third important aspect is having some form of dedicated guidance. And if you finally ask me, before locking in any optional, just glance through PYQs. I know you've not studied anything for any optional, but just flip through the PYQs. While looking at PYQs, do you get that intuitive feeling that these questions are manageable? If you get that feeling, that is your fourth and the final filter, and lock in the optional, whichever optional it is. Is it making sense for everyone? Now let's get down to the business, as this session is about sociology as the optional. Now, many of you might made up your mind that we have to choose sociology. Some of you still are facing the dilemma whether sociology or PSIR, sociology or anthropology, sociology or public administration. These are the few dilemmas which are very common, or let us say sociology or geography. Some of you might have these dilemmas. Now to address that very casual conversation, it's not because I teach sociology. It's because these are the factors that I chose sociology. Just for the disclaimer, my academic background is I am masters in mathematics. I did my graduation in maths from Lady Shri Ram College. I did my masters in mathematics from St. Stephen's College. Everybody told me to choose maths as the optional. I chose sociology as the optional, and the reason I'm going to tell you now. The first and foremost thing which I really liked about this optional was it is very accessible. Come what may, whatever is your academic background, like mine was mathematics. Someone could be an engineer, doctor, CA, management, whichever. Sociology is one optional which you can grasp, which you can excel in a very limited frame of time. Approximately 4 to 5 months with diligent efforts, you can nail this paper. So this optional by very nature is very accessible for everyone, irrespective of their academic background. Just to make you feel better and not to discourage who are from sociology background. I have seen many times, this is almost all the time, the topper from sociology never had sociology as the academic background. It's always some engineer, some doctor, some other graduate student who actually excel this paper. So there is no need for academic background to nail this paper. Is that very clear? The second aspect is relatability. Now let me ask a few questions. Have you ever come across the headlines, for example, violence against women has been committed? Have you come across a headline that this time people have voted as per their caste alliances? Caste had a major role to play in the last Lok Sabha election, especially in context of UP. So it was all about social engineering based on caste identities. Have you heard about these things? Have you heard randomly in the newspapers that there was a groom from a particular community who was riding the horse, but he was beaten up during his marriage? Or have you come across an article that there was a young boy who drank water from a vessel which was meant for other community and was beaten to death? Have you come across, there are so many young kids, because of the pressure which they could not manage, they are choosing to die by suicide. Have you come across the news article, there are so many educated youth who are choosing to indulge in the criminal behavior. Have you come across these things? Everyone, right? Now, when you come across these articles, you have knowledge about facts. What is the statistics with respect to violence against women? You might be aware about the incidences. You might be aware about the laws. You might be aware about the government provisions. But what sociology helps you in understanding why this incident has happened. For example, everyone knows that youth today is kind of suffering from mental health issues. They are choosing to die by suicide. Most of us know. But if you have sociology as an optional, you know that I have to apply Durkheim's theory of suicide to understand why youth are choosing to die by suicide. Everyone knows that. Do you know what is social media? Do you understand what is FOMO? Fear of missing out. Okay. Do you understand that because of this FOMO, they are feeling relatively deprived? And because of this, they are engaging in criminal behavior? There are many times that people, because of feeling of FOMO or relative deprivation, are engaging in criminal behavior in order to fulfill their aspirations. Everyone knows. But if you are a sociology student, you would know why this is happening. Because we have to apply Merton here. That every individual has a reference group. You compare yourself with the reference group. And when you feel that based on that comparison, you are not able to fulfill your aspirations, then in order to fulfill your aspirations, you resort to illegitimate means. This is nothing but Robert K. Merton's theory of strain. So if you have excelled sociology, why part of all these developments would be answered? Now do you realize that all of a sudden the preparation would become fun? Because now you are not only aware about the developments, you are also aware why those developments are happening. You have a reason, argument to tell that if ethnic conflicts are happening, this is happening for so reason. If caste conflicts are happening, if regionalism is happening, if son of soil is happening, then this is the reason why this is happening. So actually sociology is very relatable. And once you know what are the reasons, can you come up with good solutions to the problems? Practical, realistic solution. Hai na? Now, which exam are you preparing for? Civil services. What is the ultimate goal? To solve the social crisis or problems. So if sociology is your optional, it makes it more relatable to the ultimate goal with which you are preparing for this exam. Is it making sense for everyone? ठीक है, but ये तो बातें हैं. हम business पर आते हैं, ठीक है. No matter how relatable, how accessible it is, आपका मुद्दा यही है, मैम नंबर आते हैं, हाँ आते हैं, ठीक है. So one good thing about sociology is, देखो अगर बिल्कुल ही तैयारी नहीं करी, क्योंकि एक सेक्शन होता है ना कि प्री का रिजल्ट आ गया, गलती से हो गया, और प्री भी सिर्फ ऐसे ही दिया था just to have an experience, फिर बात अलग है कि फिर तो देखो ऑप्शनल तैयार ही नहीं था, then it is a different issue. Otherwise, if the day is not good also, you will hover around 220 to 230. Sociology अगर बहुत नंबर नहीं देगा तो बहुत कम नंबर भी कभी नहीं देगा. So 220, 230 is manageable if you have studied your optional clearly. But let us suppose you are a good student who have followed every strategy that we discuss today. Then 275 to 280 is easily manageable. But let us assume everything falls in place. You had a proper sleep, you reached the center on time, you chose the right questions, you wrote, you could in fact recall everything which is supposed to be written, and when your script reached the examiner, his point of view and your point of view matched. That's a perfect marriage happens. And then you will score more than 300. So now the bottom line is that if we as a mentor guide you, we guide you for 275 to 280. Because scoring above 300 is like a perfect marriage, for which you require the blessings of Almighty. So the God has to be kind on the day of the examination. So if you follow the strategy, 275, 280 is very much within your reach, and 300, every year toppers score above 300. So there is no rocket science in that. But it's just that ek luck factor hota hai, because I've seen very good students hovering around 280, 285, and good students even scoring above 300. So that 300 plus requires some amount of luck factor. Is this very clear? Okay. But before we proceed further, there is one thing where I want to draw your attention, that is the considerable overlap of sociology with other GS papers. See, we need to understand. I'll tell you my reason. Why didn't I choose maths? I was very good with maths. I was Delhi University topper. So I was very good with maths, but my only reason why I didn't choose maths was, ek to syllabus bahut zyada tha, and there was no overlap with GS. So I thought that if I choose sociology as an optional, I can save my time. How I can save my time? In GS paper 1 society, every year 100 marks questions are asked. And if you have sociology as a background, you don't have to study society separately. All you need to do is solve PYQs. That is all that is required. Similarly, in GS paper 2, 50 marks is from social justice. So if sociology is your background, those 50 marks also don't need to be studied separately. All you need to do is solve the PYQs. Similarly, GS paper 4, ethics paper, every year 1 or 2 questions are asked from social aspect. For example, they ask the question, despite increase in legal provision, violence against women is on the rise. This was the question asked in ethics paper. So if you have sociology as a background, you can easily answer this question. And with academically rich content, everybody was giving a general argument, but since you have knowledge about sociology, you would be given academically more nuanced content. Similarly, they asked the question, what are the contrasting attitude existing with respect to caste? How to address this contrasting attitude? Caste is a topic which you discuss elaborately in your sociology. So you don't have to study for these sections separately. Let us just see a few questions, if this is visible for us. Wait. Okay, I'll just read it out. First question was, do you think marriage as a sacrament losing its significance in modern India? Is marriage a topic from sociology? Similarly, caste identity is both fluid and static. Is caste a topic from sociology? Then there was question, what are the constitutional provisions with respect to the tribals? With respect to the welfare or empowerment of the tribals. So tribal is a topic which is there in sociology. Similarly, there was a question, what are the factors responsible for feminization of agriculture? What are the factors which are driving life cycle of joint family? So can you see there is a considerable overlap? Family, marriage, religion, caste, tribals, globalization, regionalism, secularism, communalism, urbanization, there is complete overlap. Your entire Indian society syllabus is from sociology paper 2. So if you nail sociology paper 2, you will save on time preparing for GS paper 1 and GS paper 2, which together constitutes 150 marks. So you are not preparing for 500 marks. You're actually preparing for 650 marks. Is it making sense for everyone? But more than this, I just hope it is clearly visible here. Essay topics. There is a very probable topic which was asked in 2023. Just, I'm reading it out for you. Girls are weighed down by restrictions. Boys with demands. Two equally harmful discipline. Simple topic hai? Girls are weighed down by restriction. Boys are weighed down by demands. Both are equally harmful discipline. Now, everyone understands the topic, right? But then you have to write 125 marks, which makes it 1200 words. For this, you have to have arguments. You have to have content at your disposal. There is a topic in Sociology Paper 2, Patriarchy, Entitlements and Status of Women, where you discuss this topic in detail. This entire topic is about toxic masculinity and femininity. So if you have to write 1200 words on any topic, you need to have content. You can't bluff. Just by understanding the topic, at max you can write 400 words. After that, you will end up repeating the content, or you will be digressing from the topic because you don't have the content. So sociology comes to your rescue. Just few minutes back, I said something, and the topic this year they asked, social media is triggering fear of missing out amongst the youth, which is precipitating depression and loneliness. Isn't this just now we talked about? So can we apply Durkheim here? Can we apply Merton here? It can be applied Robert Agnew here, or we'll discuss all of that later. So Louis Althusser's ideological state apparatus. All of this perspective will help you writing academically rich essay every year. This is 2024, this is 2023. Then we have, what is research but a blind date with knowledge? If anyone would ever study sociology, you would realize this is a statement by Merton. That when you do research, there are always times when some new discovery happens. So research is a blind date with knowledge. So when you go on blind date, you actually don't know how that date will go. It could go your way, and it can be a disaster also. So similarly, when you do a research, you actually don't know in which direction it would be going. So more likely, it is like blind date with knowledge. If you are lucky enough, there would be a moment of serendipity. Some new discovery happens. Is that very clear? Similarly, history repeats itself, first as a tragedy, second as a farce. It's a direct statement by Karl Marx. I am not saying you have to write Karl Marx here. But if you know in what context, who was given, you have a background, it will enable you to write a decent essay. Then read the next. Patriarchy is the least noticed yet most significant structure of social inequality. It's a direct topic from Sociology Paper 2. Patriarchy is there in your syllabus. Is it making sense? So again, you are not preparing for 500 marks, not even 650 marks. At least one topic every year will be a sociology-based topic. So add 125 more to it. So there is a considerable overlap when it comes down to GS or it comes down to essay. But most important overlap, if you will ask me, it is with the stage of personality. If you ask me, I'll always say, and I always tell my students that at the interview stage, there are 3 areas which you should nail, irrespective what your optional is. One is international relations. The possibility of asking the questions by the board is very high. Second is economics. At least basic understanding of fiscal policy ho gayi, monetary policy ho gayi, what are the economic developments, so you should be aware. And third is your society. They will ask you, let us suppose you belong to UP, or you belong to Haryana, or any particular state where crime against women is on the rise. The first question, if you're posted as a district magistrate, what are the immediate steps that you will take? They might ask you, based on the election results, oh, this year's UP results were largely governed by role of caste in politics. What's your opinion on that? So if you know what Rajni Kothari has said about politicization and casteization of politics, your answer in front of the interview board would be academically rich. So A, you will be aware about the social problems. B, you will be aware about the ground reality. You will also be aware that India is very diverse. So one size fit all approach will not work. What you require is a tailored approach. And based on that, you will provide the solutions which are realistic, which is practical, and which is effective. And you will never provide an extreme perspective. Because if you are a sociologist, you know on one hand you have functionalist, on the other hand you have conflict. So there can never be an extreme approach, no matter what the topic of discussion is. You will always provide a balanced approach, which I think without any doubt the board members will appreciate. Is it making sense for everyone? Is it clear for everyone? So are we clear that why sociology as the optional? Because there is a considerable overlap. Can we proceed further? Okay. Now, as far as today's session is concerned, largely my interest or my focus of discussion is sociology paper 2. I would be taking this session and it would be followed by another faculty which will be taking or briefing you about the strategies related to sociology paper 1. I am here to discuss the strategy with respect to sociology paper 2. Few minutes back I said that 275 to 80 is achievable with a decent effort. But then there is a caveat associated. Go and check the individual scores of the toppers. Often it is paper 2 in which you score more. And there is a reason behind it. Paper 1 is a theoretical paper. Let us suppose the questions are asked on Marx, Durkheim, Weber, sociology, common sense, emergence, standard hai, agar kabhi syllabus dekha hai to. Do you realize that all of you, more or less, would be writing the similar answers? अब मार्क्स की थ्योरी तो वही रहेगी ना जो मार्क्स ने कही है. आप थोड़ी ना बदल देंगे. The theory of Merton would remain the same what Merton has said. Weber would remain the same. You can't play with the concepts. If there is a direct question, compare Durkheim with R.K. Merton with respect to anomie. Can you change that comparison? No. At max, you can work on your structuring and presentation. There is nothing else which you can do with respect to the content. So largely in paper 1, you score less marks because more or less everyone is writing the similar answer. But when it comes down to paper 2, now this is your field where you can play with concepts. क्योंकि UPSC सवाल कैसे पूछता है? Write a short note on each of the following from sociological perspective. और पहला part आता है Domestic Violence Act 2005. अब confusion. ये तो GS का question हो गया. अब इसको sociological कैसे बनाएं? दूसरा question आता है Significance of National Education Policy. ये तो GS पेपर 2 का क्वेश्चन है. इसको सोशियोलॉजिकल कैसे बनाएं? तीसरा क्वेश्चन आता है मी टू मूवमेंट. फोर्थ क्वेश्चन स्क्यूड सेक्स रेशियो. नाउ इट इज अ न्यू फील्ड फॉर एवरीवन. You all have prepared sociology, but to what extent you will be able to write a sociological answer for these general questions will give you an edge as compared to others. फॉर एग्जाम्पल जैसे हम बात कर रहे थे अभी नेशनल एजुकेशन पॉलिसी. अब आपको समझ ही नहीं आ रहा है इसमें कैसे लिखें. बट देयर आर फ्यू पीपल हु अप्लाइड डर्काइम हियर, who applied Louis Althusser here, who applied Bowles and Gintis here, who applied Ivan Illich here. Obviously, they would have an edge. Everyone knows what are the provisions of new education policy. कोई ऐसा नहीं होगा जो तैयारी करके नहीं गया होगा. आपने भी वही provision लिखे होंगे जो उसने लिखे. But हर provision के बाद he was adding a perspective. That shows he has understood or she has understood the concept well. So this is one paper which gives you opportunity to apply concepts. This is one paper where you can tell the examiner, look, I have not ratified. I have understood the concepts and I know how to apply the concepts. Is that very clear? So paper 2, if you ask me, nothing, you should not settle for anything less than 150. Because if you settle for anything less than 150, then 275, 280 would become a challenge. Because paper 1 में 130, 135 से ऊपर थोड़े मुश्किल हो जाते हैं स्कोर करना. So your target for sociology paper 2 has to be minimum 150 if you want to cross 275 का target. Is this very clear for everyone? ठीक है. Now you need to understand that one of the major issue with sociology paper 2 is that it is very interesting as a paper, but then there is a problem. We end up, when you appear for the paper, I've seen most of the students, they're very happy, ma'am, बहुत अच्छा paper किया, सब आता था ये वो. But you don't realize you end up writing an answer which are too general. you end up writing something which anyway you would have written in GS paper 1. अब जैसे marriage as a sacrament is losing its significance. Can same question be asked in sociology paper 2? Your arguments would remain the same, but should your answer be the same? No. If you don't score case studies, if you don't mention thinkers, you will never ever fetch marks in sociology paper 2. और लोग sociology paper 2 को हल्के में ले लेते हैं कि paper 1 में thinkers पढ़ लिए, अब सब हो गया. नहीं. Sociology paper 2 को you have to dedicatedly prepare, otherwise 150 is not possible. Is it very clear for everyone? Now, if you ask me, there are 4 things, and ये कोई ऐसा नहीं है, I'm telling you with respect to sociology, generally I believe in this idea. There are 4 pillars to prepare for any paper for that matter. A is your syllabus. Second is my PYQs. Third is my notes. And fourth is my answer writing. And this is very clear. Whichever paper it is, even it is ethics, it is society, whichever paper, there are 4 pillars which has to be nailed. So the first pillar is your syllabus. अब आप बोलोगे मैम इसमें कौन सी बड़ी बात है? I'll tell you क्या बड़ी बात है. When I wrote my first attempt, I will be very honest, I was totally dependent upon the institute which I joined. Because I put the entire onus of my selection on the teacher, as if it was his attempt, not mine. So I assumed, I have given the fees, now it is their duty to cover everything in the syllabus. So why bother looking at the syllabus? I actually assumed that whatever the teacher is teaching in the class, उसी में से, क्योंकि स्कूल में तो यही होता था, कॉलेज में यही होता था. So I assumed that whatever this person is teaching, I just need to study this and I will be able to answer every question. वो तो जब पहला मेंस दिया तो पता चला कि कुछ आया ही नहीं. So that time I realized that first and foremost thing is I should be aware what's there in the syllabus. No matter how much fees you give to any institute, to any mentor, to any test series, ultimately it's our attempt. So the onus of the responsibility should be on us. It should not be on the other person. Is that very clear? So the first thing is that you will not only read the syllabus, you will study the syllabus. Now I'll tell you how you study. Just forget about the technical glitch here. I'll just tell you. The name of sociology paper 2 is Indian Society, Structure and Change. That's the name of the paper. There are 3 sections, section A, section B, and section C. Now I'm generally asking, let's forget about the syllabus here. I'm generally saying, I have to study Indian society. Now, Indian society is very vast. So in order to begin my preparation, or should I have some lens from which I can view my society? It will make my work easier. तो otherwise मैं किस perspective से society को पढ़ूं? How would I know? I will be like in no man's land, not knowing where to go in which direction. So I should have some perspective, some broad lens through which I am viewing my society. A. Second thing I'm asking, do you think societies are static? No. Every society is evolving. That means every society has underwent a change. Now, do you realize there are some forces of change which emerges from within the society? And there are some forces which comes from outside. Which is that most important force which came from outside and had a considerable impact on our society? Exactly, that is nothing but British rule. Is that clear? The first topic is perspectives on the study of Indian society, and the second topic is impact of British rule. You just have to understand the rationale behind studying the topic. Now let us suppose I know that because of the colonial rule, this is the current society that we have. Because it was 200 years of association, lot of impact happened. Now once I know this is the current stage, I have to study every structure which is existing in the society. Structures such as family, agrarian society, religion, marriage, kinship, caste, tribes, these are what? Structures in the society. So your second part is nothing but the structures. You have to study every structure in detail. नहीं तो सोसाइटी में पढ़ेंगे क्या? सोसाइटी इज मेड अप ऑफ स्ट्रक्चर्स एंड इंस्टीट्यूशंस. So structures have to be studied. Now my question is structures constant, static? Are you sure it is undergoing a change? That is, some kind of social change is happening in the society, right? Now, what is social change? Is social change synonymous with development? No. Desirable social change is development. Social change can be desirable also and undesirable also. What is social change? What are the agencies responsible for social change? Whether social change was desirable or not. And if it is not desirable, that means there would be challenges associated with social change. Are you understanding? Third part of your syllabus is social change. And if there are challenges associated with social change, read the last topic, you would have to provide solution to all those challenges. So if somebody asks you, what is sociology paper 2? A, it is perspectives. Second, impact of colonial rule. Third, existing structures of Indian society. Fourth, the changes happened within those structures. Challenges associated with those changes. Final solution. That is our overview about sociology paper 2. Is it making sense for everyone? Is it clear? तो हम syllabus को read नहीं करते, we study the syllabus because that will make you more engaged in your preparation. आप preparation enjoy करने लगोगे. एक बार जब sociology पढ़, अच्छा example देती हूँ, GS की classes चल रही है, ठीक है, polity हुआ है, ठीक है, जिनके batches में polity हो गया है, अब newspaper में मजा आ रहा है. अब मजा आ रहा है कि सुप्रीम कोर्ट पे वो डिबेट क्यों चल रही है, क्योंकि मजा आने लग गया है, समझ आने लग गया है. इट्स नॉट दैट द सब्जेक्ट इज इंटरेस्टिंग और नॉट, इट इज ओनली डिपेंडेंट ऑफ वेदर यू आर अंडरस्टैंडिंग और नॉट. जिस दिन इकोनॉमिक्स की क्लास हो जाएगी उस दिन न्यूज़पेपर में और मजा आने लग जाएगा. जिस दिन IR की क्लास हो जाएगी उस दिन और आपको इंटरनेशनल न्यूज़ समझ आने लग जाएगी. जिस दिन सोसाइटी हो जाएगा, एथिक्स हो जाएगा, उस दिन एडिटोरियल समझ आने लग जाएगा. सो दिस इज ऑल अबाउट वेदर वी आर एबल टू अंडरस्टैंड द सब्जेक्ट और not. It's not the fault of the subject. It is the fault of our understanding. Is that very clear for everyone? Okay. Now, once we know the syllabus, the second important aspect that we have to do is basically going through the PYQs. Now, I'm generally telling, let us just have a look at it. What is the significance of PYQs? If you ask me, the basic significance is when for the very first time I went through the PYQs, I realized in every paper there are two sections, Section A and Section B. ये कहाँ से पता चलता है? When you solve your PYQs. Once I saw that there are two sections, then I realized there is question number 1, there is question number 5 here, and both these questions has 5 subparts. So the second thing I know that question number 1 and question number 5 will have 5 subparts, and both of these questions are compulsory. And each of this question is of 10 marks. कहाँ से पता चला? PYQ से. After that, we realized there is question number 2, question number 3, question number 4, question number 6, question number 7, and question number 8. And each of these questions have 3 subparts, A, B, and C. This is 20 marker. 20 marker, and this is 10 marker. In total, you have to attempt 5 questions, in which question number 1 and 5 are already compulsory. So we have to attempt 3 more questions, right? Now listen carefully. 3 more questions with at least 1 question from each section. For example, if I have chosen question number 2 and question number 3, I can't choose question number 4. I have to choose at least 1 question from this section. बहुत सारे लोगों को मेंस लिखने से पहले ये बात पता ही नहीं चली, because either टेस्ट सीरीज नहीं हुआ या PYQs नहीं देखा, whatever the reason is. But many a time students don't even realize that at least 1 question from each section, because let us suppose some unfortunate thing, you have attempted all 3 questions from this section, the last question will not be evaluated. You have already lost 50 marks. Do not commit this error. And from where do you get this idea? From your PYQs. Is this very clear? So total, these 10 questions are compulsory, and these 3 questions, yani 9 questions you have to answer, which will be based on your choice. So total, how many questions we are attempting? Including the parts, 19 questions, in which 13 questions are 10 marker and 6 questions are 20 marker. Total, the paper is 250 marks. Is it clear for everyone? So first thing which PYQs helped me was to understand the marks distribution. The second thing which PYQ helped me to understand was the nature of the questions which are asked. Whether those questions are factual, whether those questions are conceptual, whether those questions are analytical, or it is the blend. Where do I get this idea? Where do I need to start my preparation from? It is from PYQs. Keep your syllabus, keep your PYQs all the time on your study table. Without these 2 things, the preparation is not done, not just for optional, any other GS paper. Is this very clear? So the second thing which my PYQs told me was the nature of the questions which are asked. But the most important things which PYQ told me was the trend. Which is the topic which is favorite of UPSC, and without fail you will get question every year. And actually I have observed role of civil society in democracy, household dimension, sociology and common sense, religion and science. These are the patriarchy. The issue of integration and autonomy with respect to the tribals. Features of caste system. Favorite topic of UPSC. But they just don't see the video. पता चला यही question छोड़ के सब पूछ लिया. So the point here is these are the favorite topics if you have observed the trends. And if you have observed the trends, you will also know which topic they have not asked in past 10-15 years. For example, industrial class structure. They have not asked. For 15 years, they did not ask. But then what happened this year, I was conducting the test series, as in last year. So I thought 15 साल से नहीं पूछा है, test series में डाल देते हैं, क्या ही फर्क पड़ता है, question कम पड़ रहा था. Last year पूछ लिया उन्होंने. So what I'm trying to tell you here is, अगर 15 साल से नहीं पूछा, इसका मतलब मैं ये नहीं कह रही वो topic छोड़ दो. मैं ये कह रही हूँ कि जो बार बार पूछ रहे हैं ना, उसको बहुत अच्छे से तैयार करो. जब पता है तुमको हाउस होल्ड पे आ रहा है तो अच्छे से तैयार करो ना. जब पता है कॉमन सेंस पे आ रहा है तो बढ़िया डायग्राम, बढ़िया फ्लोचार्ट, बढ़िया आंसर तैयार करो कि जैसे ही सवाल आए यू आर एबल टू राइट द आंसर. सो द मॉरल इज डू नॉट लीव एनी टॉपिक, बट द टॉपिक्स विच आर रिपीटेडली आस्क्ड यू हैव टू प्रिपेयर देम वेल. इज इट मेकिंग सेंस फॉर एवरीवन? इज इट क्लियर फॉर एवरीवन? ठीक है.
Preparing for the UPSC Civil Services examination demands strong preparation across all mains papers. And when it comes to scoring well in the mains, your optional subject plays a crucial role. A good performance in your optional paper can be the difference between just qualifying and securing a top rank. To help you build a strong conceptual foundation and improve answer writing, Vision IAS presents the Optional Classroom Program 2026, available in both live online and classroom offline modes. Subjects offered: Geography, Sociology, Political Science and International Relations. Batch starts from 20th June, 2 p.m. Physics. Classes start from 15th July. Looking for expert mentoring to crack UPSC? Lakshya Mentoring Program is your answer, a personalized, expert-led path from preparation to performance. If you are targeting Prelims 2025, here is what is in store with batch starting from 14th March. One-on-one mentoring with UPSC experts. Tailor-made strategy to match your needs. Regular MCQ-based assessments, CSAT support. Access to live quiz, Sandhan personalized tests, Lakshya Prelims practice tests. Planning for the long game Prelims, Mains and Interview 2026? Lakshya Integrated Mentoring Program 2026 gives you a head start with batch starting from 15th March. Year-round mentoring support, structured preparation calendar. Prelims to interview coverage including GS, CSAT, ethics, essay, and personality test guidance. Regular evaluation, customized feedback, and adaptive planning. Regular group and one-on-one session with mentors. Integrated current affairs preparation with digital current affairs platform. Are you still juggling newspapers, random notes, and endless PDFs trying to make sense of current affairs? Let's make your UPSC prep smarter. Introducing Digital Current Affairs Premium by Vision IAS, your all-in-one platform to read, revise, and write better every single day. Have a doubt from today's news or something in your syllabus? Just ask and get instant AI-powered answers that are concise, relevant, and completely aligned with the UPSC exam pattern. No more guesswork, no more confusion. Want to boost your mains writing skills? Practice daily with structured questions and get expert feedback to sharpen your content, clarity, and analysis, because writing well is winning half the battle. Need better revision? Use quick notes and highlights to save key points, mark important lines, and organize your current affairs in a way that actually works for you. And here's the best part, some of the most powerful tools are absolutely free. Daily news summaries from The Hindu, Indian Express and more, curated, filtered, and exam ready. Downloadable PDFs so your notes stay organized and accessible. Daily quizzes and MCQs to reinforce what you've learned and track your progress. A smart student dashboard to monitor your performance and stay on top of your goals. Whether you're just starting or deep into your prep, Digital Current Affairs Premium adapts to your strategy and makes every minute count. So why prepare the hard way when you can prepare the smart way? Visit www.visionis.in/current-affairs and start transforming your current affairs prep today. Because with Vision IAS, you don't just stay updated, you stay ahead.
There is this just one thing which I need to show, if it is visible. I think I need to tell you SCE. For example, there is a topic in your tribal community and the topic is geographical spread. And if you noticed, from geographical spread, not even a single question is asked. So I will prepare geographical spread, but I will not invest too much time. That in case question comes, I'll be able to manage something. But then I know, issue of integration and autonomy, every year the question is asked. So this topic I know requires lot of efforts. Is it making sense for everyone? Okay. And finally, from these PYQs, how it helps me is, just give me a minute. Let us suppose, I'm giving you an example. There is a topic in your syllabus which is kinship. Okay. This topic in your syllabus only is divided as lineage and descent. I'm just giving you an example. Second, types of kinship, family and marriage, household, and finally, it is patriarchy. So this is the syllabus which is given to us. अब इसके अलावा तो कुछ नहीं दे रखा. So then I was thinking कैसे prepare करें? Syllabus देख लिया है. So what we did was, by looking at the PYQs, we decided to combine these two topics. And we realized, let's create a new flowchart. Kinship. Prepare the concept of kinship. Prepare the types of kinship. Prepare the approaches within kinship. Then we decided, let's study lineage, in which study the concept of lineage, study the functions of lineage. Then you study the descent. When you study the descent, study the concept of descent, study the system of descent. And finally, when you are studying the types of kinship, then you divide it on the basis of lineality, on the basis of locality, on the basis of authority, on the basis of regional variation, on the basis of marriage rules, on the basis of kin group, etc. And with regional variation, the focus should be on Iravati Karve's perspective. Where did I get this flowchart from? I got the flowchart from PYQs. I studied 25 years of PYQs and I realized that if I prepare this topic like this, nothing will be asked beyond this. आप कोई भी पिछले 25 साल के questions उठा के देख लीजिए, you will not get any question other than this. This flowchart is mandatory. You just don't have to read the syllabus, you have to deconstruct the syllabus based on your PYQs. Is it very clear for everyone? Similarly, from these PYQs, they will help me in my note making also. Just now, I mentioned there is a topic, household in the syllabus. I looked at 15 years question, 20 years question. I realized they're asking me what is household. They're asking me write a short note on household dimensions. And they are asking me time and again, compare and contrast between household and family. I realized that in past 15, 20 years, these are the three broad headings they are asking. So when I decided to make my notes, what I did was, I started with the context, as in the premise based on which the concept of household has emerged. Once I have studied the premise, then I studied the concept of household as given by the scholars. Once I have studied the concept, I focused upon the features of the household, and finally, I had to prepare the comparison. Now, when I had to prepare the comparison, I knew this is favorite topic of UPSC. They are asking me almost every alternative year. So, अब मुझे एक अच्छा आंसर तैयार करना था. So here, while making my notes, I made a table. Here I wrote my household, here I wrote my family, and here I wrote my parameters based on which I will compare household and family. I know question is going to be asked. And while doing that, I created the parameters. For example, comparing the definition. For example, comparing the relatedness aspect within a household and a family. Comparing the minimum members who are there. Comparing the interpretative lens. Comparing with respect to limitations. And comparing with respect to key functions of both family and household. Is my answer prepared now? कैसे भी question पूछे, household पे पूछे, household dimension पे पूछे, comparison with family पे पूछे, या factors which resulted into emergence of the concept of household पे पूछे. Can you answer? Is it making sense? And this will be followed by one last argument, that would be criticism of household from scholarly perspective. एक पेज का डॉक्यूमेंट, एन एंटायर टॉपिक हैज बीन डन. और फिर आपको लगे कि ये सब कैसे याद होता है, तो अपने निमोनिक्स क्रिएट करिए. मैं कभी नहीं भूलती. ये रीज़न है. अभी मैं लिखते वक्त सोच रही थी क्या आएगा, फिर मुझे डॉक्टर मिल्क याद था, तो एल से मुझे लिमिटेशन याद आ गया और के से मुझे की फंक्शंस याद आ गए. आप कभी नहीं भूलोगे. डिड यू अंडरस्टैंड माई पॉइंट? दिस इज नोट मेकिंग. नोट मेकिंग इज नॉट वॉट इज बीइंग डिक्टेटेड इन द क्लासरूम. Notes are what you make at home. How you make your notes? First is your syllabus. Second is your PYQ. Based on PYQ, create a structured notes. अब जब revise करोगे, do you think it is handy? You can exactly see ये context है, ये concept है, ये features हैं, ये comparison है, ये criticism है. Can you write the answer? तो जब next time revise करोगे, तब आपको सिर्फ ये याद रखना है. Rest everything will fall in place. Is this very clear for everyone? Do you understand how note making has to be done? Okay. Now, before we further proceed, do you make notes? Genuinely asking. We make notes, okay? How do you make notes? Do you see the content and then write while making notes? Sometimes you do that, okay? Understand, note making का purpose होता है to infuse creativity. And if you will just copy, that is not known as note making. Note making is done once you understand what is supposed to be read. If I would have been in your place, I would have never made notes on my first reading. I will make my notes after my third reading. Because then I have understood what is supposed to be written in the notes and what can be comfortably left out. So then I will make crisp notes. Otherwise, you will end up making notes only 2-3 times. One would be detailed notes. Then you will subtract some portion. And finally, you will end up making some crisp notes. Why put yourself through that ordeal? So it is better, let's make crisp notes from day one. And trust me, based on my experience, I'm telling you that note making should always be done on the basis of ये बस इंग्लिश का शब्द दे दिया है, एक्टिव रिकॉलिंग. ये बचपन से मम्मियाँ कराती थी कि याद करो, फिर कॉपी को बंद करो और फिर पेपर पेन लेके लिखो कि क्या याद किया था, और जो भूल गए हो केवल वो दोबारा देखो. उससे क्या होगा? यू विल ऑलवेज रिमेंबर, योर कॉम्प्रिहेंशन स्किल्स विल इंप्रूव. और जब याद करके लिखेंगे ना, तो आप कुछ भी नहीं लिखोगे. लिखते वक्त आपको रियलाइज हो जाएगा यू आर राइटिंग समथिंग रॉन्ग बिकॉज दिस इज नॉट मेकिंग सेंस. So your comprehension skills will improve. I'll just give you a very small example. Recently it happened. I was teaching in some batch tribe caste continuum. We'll teach later. तो tribe caste continuum हम पढ़ रहे थे. So while teaching I just thought कि क्या कोई diagram बना लें जो address कर दे. So then while studying what we did was, while making the notes, we wrote tribes at one end. We wrote caste at another end. We made the diagram like this. When tribes are getting Sanskritized, then they are becoming caste, and when caste is getting re-tribalized, they are becoming tribes. So what exists here is tribe caste continuum, and the concept is given by. Can I make this diagram in the exam? Will that not make my work easier? ठीक है. This happens जब आप नोट मेकिंग खुद से कर रहे होते हो, किसी के डायग्राम कॉपी नहीं करना. एक बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग बात बताती हूँ. अभी फिर कुछ हुआ. I had to teach. अब वो मन में आ रहा था कि कैसे पढ़ाऊँ ये वाला टॉपिक. This was something related to Hinduization of tribes. That some tribes are becoming Hinduized, some are becoming partially Hinduized, and some are totally isolated. It's a perspective, right? So I was supposed to teach that to the student. तो समझ नहीं आ रहा था क्या करें. So then what I did was, this is my mainstream society. Can I say they are fully Hinduized? Can I say they are partially Hinduized? And can I say they are totally isolated? And then here I write fully Hinduized, partially, and this is isolated, and with some other pen we write the example. Do you get the point? So diagrams will come naturally to you when you write and you practice. And this diagram will add 1 extra mark in every answer. Total, how many answers to attempt? 19? 1 extra mark in every answer. And that will make all the difference. Make your answer as creative as possible. And that creativity is only possible when you write. Because when you write, you actually know what you are thinking. Stephen King has given that statement. That's a quote by Stephen King who says, I write to know what I think. बहुत बार आपको लगता है ये सोचा था मैं तो वही लिख कर आया, मार्क्स क्यों नहीं मिले? Because many a time what you are thinking and what you are writing are not in sync. So you should constantly write and practice to actually know what you are thinking. And if you ask me till date, I write and study. It may be very old school of thought. I have my online notes, but when I sit down to study, I always write. उसके बहुत फायदे हैं. Your handwriting improves, your spelling improves, your speed improves. And these diagrams comes automatically. This is like the corollary wala part. Is it making sense for everyone? यहाँ तक सबको clear हो रहा है? ठीक है. Let's further proceed. These are few of the questions which are asked in the past. Types of kinship system in India. Compare the kinship system of North and South India. You remember we wrote regional variation by Iravati Karve? That's the favorite topic. अब ये देखो कितनी बार पूछा है. It was asked in 2015, then it is asked in 2017, then again in 2021, and then again in 2023. जब मुझको पता है हर alternate year पूछ रहा हूँ, इस साल 2025 है. तो क्या पता फिर पूछ लें. तो जब पता है पूछ रहे हैं तो फिर एक अच्छी सी टेबल बनाएं. North Indian kinship and South Indian kinship, and then we write all the parameters with good scholarly views and good diagrams. For example, जब पता है पूछ रहे हैं तो एक बार notes तैयार करने. Types of kinship system based on lineality. What is the type? Description, example, scholarly views. Based on locality, type, description, example, scholarly views. Again, type, description, example, scholarly views. एक बार बस notes तैयार करने हैं based on your PYQs and you are good to go. Is that very clear? Your first attempt is the most important attempt because now you have time to invest in note making. एक बार ये attempt हाथ से निकल गया ना, फिर pressure build up होता जाता है कि दूसरा attempt है, घर वालों को जवाब देना है. और बहुत बार ना घर वाले भी ऐसी भौकाल बनाते हैं, इतना वो मीन नहीं करते हैं. तो आप भी इतने स्ट्रेस में मत आओ कि घर वालों ने कहा है बस ये एक पहला अटेम्प्ट है, इसके बाद तो शादी करवा देंगे. तो क्या मैम हम वाकई शादी करा देंगे या कहीं? तुम पहली बार प्री निकाल लो, उनको अपने आप उम्मीदें जाग जाएंगी. वो कहेंगे नहीं नहीं शादी का क्या है, कल हो जाएगी, तुम करो पढ़ाई. सो द पॉइंट हियर इज कि इतना प्रेशर नहीं लेना, लेकिन जो करना है उसको पूरी ईमानदारी से करना है. इज दिस वेरी क्लियर? ठीक है. So is note making part clear for everyone? Once the note making part is clear, let's just focus. This is again one note making example which we can see later. Now when we are talking about the note making, there are few things which you have to keep in mind. First and foremost is that you will prepare every note with a scholarly perspective. Because if you're not adding scholarly perspective, you will not be able to reproduce that in the examination, first thing. The second thing that you have to keep in mind is, once we have written the perspectives, the second important aspect is examples, case studies, or data. Now let me give you a very brief idea. Why do we quote thinkers? Now you need to understand, what credibility do you have? Who are you? Are you Andre Bete? Are you Karl Marx? ठीक है, we are no one. तो जो बात हम कह रहे हैं उसकी क्या वैल्यू है? So in order to substantiate our arguments, to give it credibility, we need support of thinkers. So always substantiate your argument with a thinker perspective. But let us suppose something happened on the day of the examination, you can't recall a thinker. In that case, you have to give credibility, use a data, use some example, use a report, and if nothing, polity तो पढ़ ही रहे हो, केसेस तो पता होंगे. तो अगर LGBTQ पे क्वेश्चन आ गया, ट्रांसजेंडर पे क्वेश्चन आ गया, माइनॉरिटीज पे क्वेश्चन आ गया, रिजर्वेशन पे क्वेश्चन आ गया, डू वी हैव केस लॉस? वही लिख दो. Because ultimate objective is to give credibility to my arguments. Choice is yours how to give the credibility. Is it making sense for everyone? ठीक है. Now, before we further proceed, a very quick view of focusing on very briefly about the answer writing. Although we'll conduct a separate detailed session on answer writing, but just to ensure that you have some heads up before you start. And the logic applies in GS as well. Okay? So without going much in detail, just see. This is how any answer, whether it is a 10 marker, whether it is a 20 marker, any answer will look like this. This is my introduction. This is my linking statement. This is my body of the answer. This is criticism or counter argument. And this is either way forward, depending upon the question, or it is overall inference. Standard answer writing. Nothing will change. Very briefly, let me tell you how to write introductions. ये structure समझ आ रहा है? You have to write, no matter it's a 10 marker, introduction is compulsory. Once you write the introduction, there has to be a linking statement. Linking statement will connect to the demand of the question. Then we have the body, we have a counter argument or a criticism, and finally, if it is a social problem, then give the way forward. Overall analysis, give your inference, but let us suppose it's a question on theory. किसी थिंकर है, तो थिंकर की बुराई पे तो नहीं एंड करेंगे ना, तो यहाँ पे थोड़ी सी थिंकर की तारीफ करेंगे. Positive contribution. Standard way of writing. Many a times, और क्या कुछ बदलेगा GS में? At max अगर कुछ बदलेगा तो वो criticism और positive contribution of the thinker है. Structure even GS में it remains the same. Now comes how to write the introduction. The first thing is that you write the definition. The second aspect is you start with the premise. The third is focusing or highlighting contribution of thinker, depending upon the question. Or you write, let us say, recent report, data, case law, or let us say you are defining the keyword. Keyword से मेरा यहाँ पे मतलब है, let us suppose the question is asked in some context, then that context has to be discussed in the introduction. Now, is there anything that you've not understood? The question is on caste-based census is a boon or bane. Discuss. Can I start with the definition of what is caste-based census? Can that be done? Or can we start in the premise with respect to socio-economic caste census of 2011? How the data is yet to be released. So in this context, we need to analyze that to what extent it is a boon or a bane. So you can start with the premise as well. Similarly, let us suppose the question is on violence against women is on the rise. Can we start with the data? That according to NCRB report, violence against women is on the rise, and we mention the data. Or let us suppose we can start with the definition of patriarchy as given by some scholar, let us say Sylvia Walby. Are you understanding how there are different ways of introducing? Let us suppose there is a question on live-in relationship. Let us suppose there is a question with respect to marital rights to the LGBTQ community. Can we mention the recent case in which the verdict has been given? That although they have been recognized as a third gender, but the marital rights have not been granted to them. Is it making sense for everyone? There are multiple ways of writing a good introduction. Just make sure every answer you choose a different way of introducing. That will disrupt the monotony in your answer writing. I'll show you one answer in order to tell you what I'm discussing. Is this clear for everyone? Now, linking statement totally depends upon the question. Upon the question. इसको लिखने के दो तरीके होते हैं. One, you write the statement. And let us suppose nahi samajh aa raha how to write the statement. Then you can very conveniently write the subheading. It will save your time and space. So either choose to write the connecting statement or try to write the subheading. But that will help you establishing the link between introduction and body. Can we come down to the body? Body में हमेशा ध्यान रखना, if there are subparts to the question, please answer all the subparts. That is mandatory. No matter how good an answer you've written, if you have not answered all the subparts, you will not fetch marks. A. Second, मैं आपको easy कर देती हूँ. जैसे कभी-कभी ना UPSC सवाल पूछता है, define patriarchy, full stop. How it is impacting the entitlements of the women in the Indian family system. The entire question is of 10 marks. मैंने पहली चीज क्या करी, मैंने divide कर दिया 2 and 8. So now this has given me a structure that I have to define patriarchy in not more than 25 to 30 words. And remaining answer would be written in the remaining space. So immediately when you get a question which has subparts, divide it in your mind and allocate the numbers to it. It becomes easier. Is this very clear? The second thing, let me tell you, this is very interesting. जो अभी मैंने थोड़ी देर पहले बोला, write a short note on each of the following. For example, national education policy. अब ये question दे दिया. अब हमको समझ ही नहीं आ रहा इस question में क्या लिखें, क्या नहीं लिखें, क्या छोड़ें. तो अब हम क्या करेंगे? ये सब parts है. A कुछ है, B कुछ है, C कुछ है. Create a question in your mind. Write a short note or critically examine factors which led to the emergence of national education policy and how it is significant in addressing inequality in the society. I have created the question. आप कुछ भी create कर सकते हो and then start writing the answer. Will that answer be wrong? Absolutely not. क्योंकि अगर UPSC कुछ specific चाह रहा होता तो खुद ही पूछ लेता. उसने बताया नहीं क्या करना है, हमने अपना question खुद बना लिया. So the point is, whenever you get such questions, please create your own questions. नहीं तो क्या होता है, समझ नहीं आता, आंसर आता है, but you don't know how to start, where to end, what to write, what not to write. Create a fictional question in your mind. Structuring becomes easy. Is it clear? Can I proceed? Very quickly, when you write the body, there is one strategy, and I actually live by it, and that is, I always believe this is the only strategy which can help you writing a good content in limited space. Let me tell you how. There are many students who have a doubt. Sociology is a humanitarian subject. Should we write in pointers or should we write in paragraphs? See, 10 marker, 20 marker. What paragraph writing you will do? My seniors used to get questions of 60 marks. During my time, I used to get questions worth 30 marks. You are getting worth 10 and 20 marks. What paragraphs will you write? You will end up writing elongated content, but the depth, as in the capturing or the horizontal ambit of the content would be very limited. In that case, So that our answer should not look कि बिल्कुल ही bullet point type लिख दिया है, let's use the strategy KEE. You start with a keyword. Once you write the keyword, it's my bullet point, but it will not look like a bullet point. Then I will write my explanation. Once I have written my explanation, then I will give the evidence. This evidence can be any example. This evidence can be a data. This evidence can be a case study. Or this evidence can be a thinker. अब आप लिख तो बुलेट पॉइंट रहे हो, बट वो लग बुलेट पॉइंट नहीं रहा है. So you have started KEE strategy. Apply this in your GS as well. You will see the difference. Write a keyword, explain the keyword in one line, and then substantiate your keyword, either using data, case study, thinker's perspective, or whatever it is. Is it making sense for everyone? Irrespective, whatever is the question, counter argument or criticism is mandatory. क्योंकि हर एक चीज की फ्लिप साइड होती है. स्पेशली अगर सोशियोलॉजी में दे रहे हो तो मर्टन कहता है ना, हर इंस्टीट्यूशन के फंक्शन है तो डिसफंक्शन भी है. हर एक पर्सपेक्टिव हर जगह अप्लाई हर वक्त नहीं होगा. सो देयर वुड बी अ काउंटर आर्ग्यूमेंट. सो डिपेंडिंग अपॉन द मार्क्स एलोकेशन, the amount of criticism can vary, but criticism has to be written. Let us suppose it is not the main content. So write at least 2 criticism based on thinkers. But let us suppose criticism is required, it is the demand, then try to write at least 3 to 4. But it has to be written. Is this clear? And finally, कितना भी critique कर लो, एंड हमेशा पॉजिटिव नोट पे करेंगे, दैट डिस्पाइट इट शेयर ऑफ क्रिटिसिज्म इट हैज मेड अ ह्यूरिस्टिक इम्पैक्ट, और इट हैज एनलाइटेंड द डिसिप्लिन ऑफ सोशियोलॉजी, और द थ्योरी हैज बीन बोल्ड एंड इल्यूमिनेटिंग. ऐसे करके 10-15 लाइनें तैयार कर लो, हर में चेप दे नहीं. अप्लाई करना, एप्लीकेशन. सो द पॉइंट विच आई एम ट्राइंग, इज दिस क्लियर फॉर एवरीवन? बट इट हैज़ टू बी देयर. और जो लोग कहते हैं ना कि ऑन द स्पॉट राइटिंग करी थी, फ्रॉड किया है उन्होंने. सब पहले से तैयार करके जाते हैं. एवरीबडी प्रिपेयर देयर इंट्रोडक्शन, देयर डायग्राम्स, देयर कंक्लूजन्स बिफोर हैंड. नथिंग हैपन्स ऑन द स्पॉट. ऑन द स्पॉट तब होता है जब कोई नया क्वेश्चन आ गया एंड आप एग्जिस्टिंग नॉलेज को यू आर अप्लाइंग. ओनली दैट हैपन्स ऑन द स्पॉट. रेस्ट एवरीथिंग हैज टू बी डन बिफोर हैंड. आई टेल यू बेस्ड ऑन माई एक्सपीरियंस प्रॉब्लम. Let us suppose 100 is the preparation. We spend 80 to 85% of our preparation only on collecting the content and reading the content. Hardly 5-10% of the preparation is about revision, and hardly 2 to 5% is about writing practice, which in actuality it has to be very different. 40% should be your reading and collecting the material. Another 20 to 30% should be on revising and recollecting whatever you have studied. And then remaining 20-30% should all be about writing and practicing. So there has to be equal significance given to all these 3 aspects of your preparation. Is this very clear? Is the writing part clear? ठीक है? Everything is there in your PPT. If you are looking for specific examples, सब कुछ PPT में है. We can refer to that. For example, let me see if there is a particular question which I have written. Okay, we'll see it in some times. There is one aspect where I wanted to draw your attention before I wind up the session. The most important aspect here is that when you are preparing for sociology paper 2 specifically, since I already told you we do not have much thinker's perspective, but we have to make it sociological. So one piece of advice is there are 10 to 15 templates which has to be prepared. And then you have to see where all it can be applied. I'll give you a basic example. Okay? In paper 1, you study patriarchy, sexual division of labor and everything, and there is a very famous scholar, Sylvia Walby. And Sylvia Walby says, just listen, that there are 6 structures through which patriarchy is perpetuated. One is the household work which a woman does. Second is the paid work, the challenges which she faces. Third is the culture. Fourth is the control over her sexuality. Fifth is the violence. And sixth is the patriarchal nature of state. ये सिल्विया वॉल्बी ने बोला. अब क्वेश्चन आ गया सोशियोलॉजी पेपर 2 में कि what is patriarchy and how patriarchy are restricting the entitlements of women in India. ये क्वेश्चन आ गया. अब हमने क्या किया, हम क्या करेंगे, स्ट्रक्चर्स तो सिल्विया वॉल्बी के रखेंगे लेकिन उसमें एग्जाम्पल इंडियन सोसाइटी का दे देंगे. एज पर सिल्विया वॉल्बी देर आर 6 स्ट्रक्चर्स. पहला क्या था, हाउस होल्ड. So can I say, according to economic survey report, 91.5% of the unpaid work in the household is done by women as compared to 20% done by men. It's an economic survey data. But I have applied this data in context of Sylvia Walby. The second is the paid work. Can I say, although women's participation in paid work has increased, but glass ceiling, wage gap, pink-collared jobs, dual burden, sexual harassment, all of this she is confronting in context of Indian society. तीसरा आया culture. क्या culture में role of media, role of religion, role of family in perpetuating gender stereotyping, blue for boys, pink for girls. Girls तो पराया धन है. Boys are the real inheritor. Do we practice sun meta preference? Right? So that is the application. Fourth is sexuality. You don't allow your women to marry any and everyone. Honor killing हो जाती है. In context of pratiloma marriage, where women of upper caste marry the boy of lower caste. So sexuality control हो रही है ना. Then according to NCRB, violence against women is on the rise. And fourth, when state fails to provide laws like criminalization of marital rape, that means the state in itself sometimes act as a patriarchal institution. Did we get a sociological answer? With examples, apply क्या किया? सिल्विया वॉल्बी. टेम्पलेट्स तैयार कर लो. सिमिलरली देयर इज अनदर टेम्पलेट. बहुत बेसिक एग्जांपल देती हूँ, अभी थोड़ी देर पहले भी मैं बोल रही थी, समझ आ रहा है ना हम क्या बात कर रहे हैं. सिमिलरली देयर इज अनदर स्कॉलर लुई अल्थूजर. बड़ी अच्छी कमाल की बात उन्होंने कही. उन्होंने कहा द स्टेट एक्ट्स इन 2 मैनर. आपको भी समझ आएगा. द फर्स्ट, लेट अस सपोज आई एम द स्टेट. आई वॉन्ट यू टू लिसन टू मी. सो वन, आई विल अप्लाई कोएर्जन. That is repressive state apparatus. And how I'm applying coercion? Military, police, or court. But let us suppose I don't want to apply coercion. But even then I want to influence your behavior. So that I'm going to do through ideology. I'm going to influence your value system, your belief, your behavior. And how can I influence that? Content of education. What news is being run by media? What policies have been made? So can I say that no matter how good a policy you come up with, largely it is reproducing the dominant ideology? If the policy is not being made by every section of the society, so largely it is the reproduction of the dominant ideology. And this is nothing but Louis Althusser's ideological state apparatus. तो अगर एजुकेशन पे सवाल आए, मीडिया पे सवाल आए, रिलीजन पे सवाल आए, कास्ट पे सवाल आए, क्या सब में मैं ये अप्लाई कर सकती हूँ? डिड यू गेट माई पॉइंट? तो टेम्पलेट तैयार करो, अपने आप तैयार हो जाएगा. सो अप्रॉक्सीमेटली 15 टेम्पलेट्स विच एनीवे इज देयर. अगर हम, दिस इज माई फेवरेट टेम्पलेट, स्टीवन ल्यूक्स फेसेस ऑफ पावर. ये आपको ऐसे ही समझ आ जाएगा. एक कह सकती हूँ, यू आर द फर्स्ट फेस ऑफ पावर, you are the second face of power, and they are the third face of power. The first face of power is the visible power. Can I say government exercises the visible power? Government के पास power होती है. If you are the IAS officer, will you have the visible power to exercise? That's the visible power. We all know that. But this is the second face of power which we are not aware of, which Stephen Lukes talk about. That's the power which media has. Agenda setting. Let us suppose I'm the media house. I called you all for the discussion. I said, we are a democracy and we'll discuss everything. You were very happy that, look, media houses are taking our inputs. The democracy is being realized in true sense. But then I choose the topic on which the discussion is supposed to happen. I have set the agenda for the discussion. कि आज discussion होगा, लेकिन इसी topic पे होगा जो मैं चाहती हूँ. तो we will discuss the topic कि panel of discussion क्या होगा. For example, Sachin Seema की love story. If we want to discuss that, so we will be, who discusses uniform civil code? Who discusses issues like LGBTQ and marital rape? Oh, please. Sachin Seema की love story is more important to be discussed. So the agenda is set by the media house. This is second phase of power. The third phase is very important because they set the narrative. ये agenda set कर रहे हैं, ये narrative set कर रहे हैं. They are setting your behavior, your ideology, your belief system, where you think that it is the birth from your mind, but it is actually ingrained in your mind. This is nothing, again, the role of social media. Social media is setting the narratives. So actually there are three phases of power where you only see the first phase. The second and the third phase is not visible. अब suppose करो question आ जाए pressure group in democracy. Question आ जाए civil society in democracy. Question आ जाए role of media in democracy. Can we use Stephen Luke's second and third phase of power? Prepare the templates and you are done with it. कोई भी question आ जाए. Is this very clear for everyone? Let's very quickly see the books. वो सबसे important है. Whatever extra things which I have to discuss, everything is in the all the examples, how to write the answer, table, everything which we have discussed. Okay, let's just see this one answer. Just to show, explain Leela Dubé's concept of seed and earth. You don't know anything about it. I'm generally saying. You start with the contribution of Leela Dubé. Then you explain the premise of what was this theory all about. Then as a part of the linking statement, I added a subheading here. Once I added the subheading, then I have discussed the body of the content. And if you see the body, it is written in the same manner, K-E-E. And once we have done the body, there is counter argument based on scholarly views where we have criticized Leela Dubé's Seed and Earth. And finally, despite the criticism, Leela Dubé, through her concept of seed and earth, has made a path-breaking contribution to the field of sociology by bringing gender sensitivity in sociological studies. Is the structure clear? Can you see the complete answer? Okay. See, as far as paper 2 is concerned, these are some of the books. If you are preparing on your own, the first read would be Indian Sociological Thought by B.K. Nagla. Second read, matlab simultaneously read, there are 4 books, NCERT, 2 class 11th and 2 class 12th. वो वैसे भी पढ़नी चाहिए. NCERT is something you should anyway read. To start with your NCERTs, and for sociology, paper 2, the first is Indian Sociological Thought by B.K. Nagla. Once you have done that, your perspectives have been shaped. After that, there is no single book. For example, there is a topic in your syllabus, Modernization of Indian Tradition by Yogendra Singh. There is a complete book on that. क्या ज़रूरत है पढ़ने की? एक क्वेश्चन आता है और हर साल ऑलमोस्ट सेम आता है. एक बार कंटेंट तैयार कर लो 250 वर्ड्स का. You are done. और कंटेंट कैसा तैयार होगा? Premise which led to the emergence of Yogendra Singh's perspective. What is Yogendra Singh's perspective on modernization? Then you have to give the examples, counter argument, and then the positive contribution. Structure हम already बात कर चुके हैं. एक standard question आता है, so you don't have to read the entire book. So based on your syllabus and PYQs, please deconstruct it and try to create the content at max 150 words or 250 words. That's it. Is it making sense? Okay? So if you are preparing on your own, these are some of the references which I have mentioned. But again, I'll say, जैसे A.R. Desai, Social Background of Indian Nationalism, है तो पूरी किताब, question एक आता है. What is social background of Indian nationalism according to A.R. Desai? So you don't have to read the entire book. Based on the nature of the question which has been asked, prepare a 250-word write-up. But the write-up should be properly structured. It should have thinker's perspective, it should have a critique, it should have contemporary relevance, and you are done with it. Is this making sense for everyone? Otherwise, these are the books which can be referred. ठीक. Now, if you choose to join any coaching institute, then I'm sure the content would be provided by the concerned institute. If, let us suppose, you don't join any coaching institute, then a piece of advice is join a test series. And whichever coaching institute you join, एक test series तो वो लोग provide कराते हैं, एक test series आप कहीं और join करो, so that you will know where do you stand. Because mostly what happens, whatever you are studying in a particular institute, more or less you will be able to answer the questions of their test series. But when you join someone else's test series, you actually get the reality check how well you are prepared. So I would definitely suggest that 2 test series have to be joined. First test series that you join is along with the course that you are preparing. So let us suppose you finish a topic, you write the test. You finish the topic, you write the test. So in this process, your entire syllabus would be prepared. The second test series you will join when you are writing your prelims. So within that, जो time gap होता है ना prelims और mains के बीच में, then you will join the test series. Why? Because that will ensure discipline in you. नहीं तो आपको समझ नहीं आएगा कितना टाइम ऑप्शनल को दें, कितना जीएस को दें, कितना एसए को दें, और वो मेस क्रिएट हो जाएगा. सो इन दैट सिचुएशन व्हाट यू नीड टू डू इज दैट ड्यूरिंग दैट टाइम ऑफ 2.5 to 3 months join a test series where as per the syllabus of the test you revise, go write the test, revise, go write the test. But if you directly join the test series between that gap, let us suppose you wrote the first test and you did not get a good feedback, you will panic. So everything testing part should be done right now. So if you are preparing your optional, join a test series once few chapters have been done and start writing the answers. So that in case some mistake is there, it is corrected here itself. So that when you are writing next year, you will be in a safe space. You are just revising. You don't have to work on your answer writing skills. Is that very clear? So that is the significance of test series. Just a piece of advice, 2 test series at least. Okay? So on this note, did you understand how to approach sociology paper 2? Did you understand the significance of note making and answer writing? Did you get an overview how sociology paper 2 syllabus looks like? Do you understand the significance of writing scholars or substantiating your arguments? Do you have access to the content? अब एक और चीज़ करना, ये books तो random लग रही होंगी, मैंने topic wise भी book list दे दी है कि कौन सा टॉपिक किस इग्नू के मटेरियल या किस बुक से करना है. अगर मैंने 2-3 ऑप्शंस दिए हैं तो इसका मतलब ये नहीं कि सारे पढ़ने बैठ जाओ, जो एक ऑप्शन आपको ठीक लगे. अगर आपको इग्नू से समझ आ रहा है तो आप इग्नू से कर लेना. इज दैट वेरी क्लियर? बट इग्नू की सारी बुकलेट्स खरीदने मत बैठ जाना, बिकॉज आई नो व्हाट हैपेंस. इमीडिएटली यू विल रन, they'll give you BA और MA की बुकलेट्स, you will have this much collection of books, और वो एक कोने में सजी हुई रहेंगी. आप उसका कभी वो जो रस्सी बांधी है वो भी नहीं खोलोगे. So the point here is, जो मैंने बुकलेट्स मेंशन करी हैं, गूगल पे जाओ, PDF को डाउनलोड करो, वहाँ से नोट्स बना लो और फिर राइटिंग प्रैक्टिस कर लो. Is this very clear? We have written all the books. For every topic I have given the booklets. You will not find any difficulty. Is that very clear? I'll ask the team to upload, because I think some technical glitch वो overlap हो रही है PPT. I'll ask the team to upload the PPT. All the answers, examples, diagrams, I have incorporated everything in the PPT. So if there is anything which is left to be understood, you can fall back upon this PPT. Is that very clear? So on this note, I conclude the lecture. Very soon, another faculty will join us for Sociology Paper 1. Wish you all the very best. Okay? Take care.